sort of approaching retirement age, it's time to think about what I'm going to do with that money. Now, the problem is communicating with UK pension management companies is a complete nightmare. So I've contacted a company that deals with typical US overseas, they go work overseas and they have a pension with the company they're working for, and then they come back to the US and that money is in the UK. So this company just deals with bringing the money in their pensions from foreign lands to the US. Simple, huh? We started this process in October of last year. I contacted them and said, I've got a whole bunch of pensions out there. One of the things is I want them all in one place. So we're consolidating the pensions into one place. And the company that manages them have offices in the US as well as other places in the world. So it's an international mortgage management company. So this is all set up. By December, this is all ready to go. I've said, yes, let's get the money transferred. They don't create the pension account with the international management company until the money is all freed up. So we've contacted 2 of the mortgage companies in the UK, and that's still grass 96%. We're going to have to rest for a bit. Well, actually, we're not. Well, actually, 2 of the companies, really simple. Yep, okay, this is all kosher. We're ready to go. One of them is like, oh, no, we don't want you taking your money out of the UK because Keir Starmer has his eyes on claiming all of that. So they sent me a questionnaire to fill out. So we filled out the questionnaire and sent it back to them. And it takes 2 weeks to get there before they open it and look at it. So they did that. And they thought about it for 2 weeks and then sent me another questionnaire to fill out. So it's like, oh, okay then. And that is now silage. So let us go and find our John Deere 8R. I missed it. John Deere 8RT. New Holland. That's why I missed it. It's stuck behind the mower. So they send me a second questionnaire. And so we filled that out. And then about, what would it be, the 20th? I got an email from the people who were organising this whole transfer in to say, yes, we've contacted this mortgage company and they've said they're doing their due diligence and it shouldn't be long now. 2 days later, I get a tome of paper, another questionnaire. And it's like, seriously, you people are, they're just horrible. We've told them, I live in the US, I'm staying in the US, I want my money available in the US. And since I have multiple UK pensions, I want them all in one place. So this latest questionnaire is all about, tell us about the account that already exists that you're going to put the money into. That's not how this works, you dipsticks. The money, the accounts, I will have to pay a maintenance fee on when they're created. So the accounts have not been created until all the monies are available for transfer. Then we create the account and I start paying a maintenance fee on it, and we get the money transferred. But they want to know, oh, what's it being invested in? What's this? What's that? What's the other? It's like, we already told you. But you want me to fill it out again. I'm getting to the point where I think they're sending these questionnaires out, and if I get the answers to one questionnaire different from another, they're like, oh, this is all a scam, you can't have your money at all. It's like, it's seriously. Oh no, they didn't pay the okay, the return postage is paid UK second class mail, which is no freaking use for sending it internationally. And so I'm having to pay all the postage anyway. Plus, it takes 2 weeks to get there and 2 weeks to get back here, and it takes them 2 weeks to figure it out. So it's 2 months turnaround time for every freaking questionnaire. So we're now at the doorsteps of June, and I'm on the 3rd questionnaire that I now have to send back. They're not going to have reviewed it and done whatever they need to do by July. I can't just stick a stamp on it and stick it in the mail, because it's like 30 sheets of paper, and that's not going to go standard letter first class. We have to go to the post office and get it weighed and everything else. And our local post office, sub post office, just closed. So we now have to travel a bit further to get to the post office. And where the post office is restricted parking. So it's a total nightmare. Yes. And I'm sure they are, and I'm sure the British government is encouraging them to do this, because the British government sees all that pension money and says, oh, just think what we could use that on. I mean, meanwhile, my parents are obviously 20 years older than I am. So they're well into retirement, and for the last few years, my dad has just been saying, we have money in the bank that we just don't need to use. And so they're sending it out, or they were sending it out as gifts to me and my sister, so that the UK government didn't get their hands on it. Because you can send, you can send money as a gift to a relation, not a problem. And for the approximately $10,000, whatever it is. Actually, I'm going to go this way round. Don't have to declare it to the US government, whatever. That's all tax-free, so they don't pay taxes on it. I don't pay taxes on it. So it's a good way to take money out of their accounts and leave it as, it's no longer their responsibility, it's my responsibility. That's fine. If they die, then they have death taxes and all the rest of the garbage, and the government takes half of it. So basically my dad's like, I would like my children to have this and my grandchildren to have this, and not the UK government to have it. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. We did some more research into it and found out that basically if you're doing transactions of 10,000 or more, then your bank will tell the US government that you're doing it, because we're going to assume you have a criminal enterprise going on. and that's not the best. Yeah, that's no way of getting around it. But there's no tax liability, and there's actually no tax liability if I think if they transfer 100,000 to me in 1 year, then I have to get into, you know, then the IRS gets involved and they start determining, oh, do we need to tax this money? Now I think there is a potential tax liability after a certain point, but I think it's like $1 million. Then okay, now you're going to be taxed on these gifts, but it's additional paperwork. So at least if it's over 10,000 and under 100,000, then the bank has paperwork to fill out to say, yeah, this money came into the account from foreign countries. But if it goes over 100,000, then I have to fill out paperwork as well. So it's like, yeah, I'm not. I don't want to trigger that event if I can help it. Yeah, it's when people start getting old and start thinking about what's going to happen to everything when they die that yeah, you start having conversations with lawyers and financiers and all sorts of people like that. Yes, and that was the problem that South Mountain Creamery had. If you remember back in Farm Sim 17, 19, we had that multiplayer. It was a Black Sheep US map. They have a farm shop and they do everything in cash. They don't accept credit, or at the time they didn't accept credit cards. So they would have people turning up, buying milk, buying, you know, stuff, and they would deposit it in the bank, and then the powers that be, the federal powers that be, decided this is really suspicious. You depositing $8,000, $12,000 a day in your account, you must be doing something nefarious. And they seized the bank accounts and just screwed them royally. Very sad situation. So, but I saw the story on the news, and there was sort of overhead video of the farm. I was like, I know that farm. I've played on that farm in Farming Simulator with a lot of friends. So yeah, that was. But yes, the IRS can get involved in all sorts of dealings which aren't shady. They're just people doing business. And that's a load of bales sold. Ooh, over 43. 44. Yeah, 44 and a half. So, hey, that's not bad. That's going to do wonders for our bank account. I do want a second cotton harvester for harvest. I guess this is going to take me a while. There's probably about 3 or 4 trips worth of bales, although some of them are a lot closer to town. But yeah, it's you can explain it, but when it's a regular thing, it's like yeah, I think the IRS is like, why aren't you doing transactions by credit card? Because then we don't make the money because we have to pay the credit card fees. So we like cash. Have you seen the upcoming game from Iron Nest? I'm not sure I have. I must admit, I'm not seriously involved in gaming at the moment. I play Farming Simulator on Saturday mornings while everybody else in the house is sleeping, except at least one person's not sleeping at the moment. And then I'll play a couple of rounds of World of Warships to complete the weekly missions, and that's pretty much all I do at the moment. I know there's an upcoming maintenance of way patch. Oh, hello. Yeah, maintenance of way for Railroader is coming along, which is good because I think they went silent for about 3 months following the patch in February or January. So that's coming up. But yeah, it's just I don't really have evenings to play. Although the main excuse has left the building. Just evenings, my back's a problem at the moment. I'm having another procedure in about 3 weeks, which should wipe out the pain. Oh, now I did. I mean, going back many years. Tabletop war games. You play with little miniatures, and someone had rules for... Oh, train's coming. Someone had rules for a spaceship game, and you had to calculate angles and everything else. You're firing lasers, so it's not like you have range to consider or anything like that. But at the beginning of the turn, you had to decide what direction you were going to fire your guns, how fast you were going, or how fast you were going to accelerate or decelerate, and but the basic physics of it all. You then moved, and then your guns fired, and hitting someone was complete luck, because it's like, yes, I want my guns to fire on a 25-degree off the bow, and of course he might be there right now, but when you combine your movement with his movement, it's like, yeah, you missed. And he said it was so, you couldn't predict where you were going to shoot, because if you maneuvered and the other guy maneuvered and the difference was 1 degree and the range was a meter, the shot that you'd said, oh, I'm going to fire 25-degree arc, is now missing him by 10 centimeters to the left. It's like, it's a very frustrating game, he said. I think if you wanted to hit things, you would have to sort of say, I'm going to fire 10 guns, 1 each between 31 and 40 degrees off the bow, and hope that one of them hit. He was still in that arc, but yeah, it's like they never did damage to each other, and they never fought to a conclusion. But there are some novel games out there. I've had things in the past. Some of the earliest computer games had you calculating like the moon lander, where you had to calculate thrust, or you had to input thrust and duration and try and get a lunar module on the moon without wrecking it. Ooh. I didn't do much in the way of tabletop. I did BattleTech, which was more of a hex-based tabletop. I did Starfleet Battles, which was based off the original series of Star Trek, and quite a lot of fun. That was released as a computer game called Starfleet Command 2, and then Starfleet Command 3 was, yeah, it was still Star Trek, but it wasn't Starfleet Battles Star Trek. The producers of Starfleet Battles got sued by CBS. The films were not out at the time, so it was just based on the original TV series and to a certain extent the cartoon series. But they got sued, and they came up with a licensing deal where they could base everything they had on the original TV series, so they couldn't use anything from the movies or stuff like that, and anything that they made up. But the Starfleet Battles universe is not the same as the Star Trek universe. It's just the ships look the same, or at least the original ships look the same. Yeah, that was a good fun game. Played many battles with that one. What other games did I have? Like I said, I really didn't do much in the way of tabletop. Mostly I was doing roleplay. I played a fair amount of Dungeons and Dragons because that's what other people played. I refereed a game called Traveller, which is basically in space. And we had a fair amount of fun with that. But yeah, lost contact with those groups. They were kind of just groups of people with similar interests as opposed to friends a lot of the time. Plus, I don't live in the country anymore. But these days I'm having, let's just say, not a lot of fun. I ordered a locomotive last year in June. Now, it was announced in November, and was due to be delivered, I think, first or second quarter of 25. So November 23 it was announced. Place your pre-orders. It was supposed to be finished and delivered in 2025 first quarter. And they got the initial models, and they figured that the dome on the top of the main boiler wasn't straight. So they sent it back to manufacturing and said, yeah, no, this is not good. This is obviously people are going to notice and complain about it. So, okay, fine, we can change that. So delivery changed to June 25, or second quarter 25. I still hadn't pre-ordered. And the problem is if you don't pre-order, the chances of you getting what you want is vanishingly small. But they took delivery in June, and they looked inside the models and they discovered that the wiring inside, while it worked, was a nightmare. And basically, if you wanted to take it apart to grease the gears or oil the shaft through the motor, getting it back together was going to be a major source of tears and pain, because the wire loom was just ridiculous. At this point, I placed an order for one at one of the local model shops, or one of the UK model shops. And it was due to, at that point, it was due to be delivered in about 2 weeks. And then they said, no, we're sending it back. The wiring inside is just a nightmare. This is going to be totally impossible for anybody to maintain, just do simple maintenance. So we're sending it back and having them redo the wiring. Okay, fine. It did not show up until December, and because I was getting some personalization work done to it, crew stuck inside, a little bit of weathering, and a coal load on the back. It didn't get delivered to me until the end of April. Then I got it out of the box and it didn't work, but I had watched someone who'd done a review of it. He said that the wipers that connect the wheels to the electrics inside weren't in contact with the wheels. They got flattened against the chassis. Simple job, just take the plate off the bottom of the locomotive and bend those wipers outwards, and that would reconnect your wheels to the motor. So I did that, and it works, and it goes round and round, and it does all the things it needs to. Then I connected it to a set of passenger cars, and the passenger cars kept derailing. So took a look at it, sort of, yeah,